We've already looked at how to create links inside of a web page. Well, there's a couple different ways and uses for links, and we've seen how to link to external pages, but now I want to show you how to link inside of your page. And this is important for a couple of different reasons. For one, a modern way of doing web pages is have one web page that has all of your content, and you just navigate to it. The second is, and what I'm going to show you today, what happens if you have some content and you want to jump immediately to a section? You don't want to have the user scroll all the way down. I have here a page and it's just filled with lorem ipsum text, and if I scroll down, you notice it's a bit of scrolling. And I have several headers and subheaders. Well, maybe I would be jumping to that specific place. So let's show you how we're going to do that real quick. Turns out it's very easy to be able to do. I've already got a section here for showing my internal links, section 1, section 2, and section 3. And if I switch to my code editor, you can see that I have them listed here as well. So to create an internal link, there's actually a couple of ways that we can do that. And the first way I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to section 1, and inside the href, I'm going to put a hash symbol, and I'm going to specify section 1. Now, notice that I do not have a space in between section and 1 in my link. Also notice that I have the hash symbol in front of my link that I'm going to go to. That's very important. I have to have that hash symbol or pound symbol, depending upon where you know it from, has to be inside of the link. It has to be the very first character. And if so, that makes it an internal link. And I'm going to come here to where I have my H2, and notice I have a section underneath it. And I'm going to specify A for my anchor tag, but instead of creating an href of where I can go someplace else, I'm going to specify a name. And I'm going to call it section 1. Now, notice I did not put the hash symbol there. So the hash symbol in my href says I'm going to an internal location. The name gives me the location I'm going to jump to. I'm going to save this. Go to my internal page. I'm going to need to reload it because there's a change there in the code. And if I click on section 1, you'll notice that it takes me right to that heading 2. It scrolls me automatically all the way down. That A name is just a different way of referencing that anchor tag. And so the anchor tag actually, as you can see, has 2 different uses. And this was the old style way of doing it. A little bit more modern way, and I'm going to come down to my next H2, is I can put an ID. And an ID can be on any tag just about. So I'm going to say ID equals, and then here I'm going to put section 2. Now I'm going to need to scroll back up to where I have my link, put href. Once again, I do need to start with the hash symbol. That way it knows how to jump to that location. And then I'm going to put section 2. Once again, no spaces. These need to match. And spaces are not generally well received. The reason why is in both the name and the ID, if I put a space there, it quits looking for it. Okay? If I need to specify that there is going to be a space, I can do something like put an underscore or a dash, or I can just kind of jumble them all together like you see here in this example. So I'm going to reload and scroll back up to the top so I can click on my section 2. And when I click on section 2, notice it jumps me automatically all the way down to that heading 2 tag that I put the section 2 on. So it's going to jump me automatically to where I need to go. Now I do want to show you one minor limitation to this. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put an ID on my footer. And the reason for doing on the footer, you'll see in just a second. And I'm going to call this footer. There's no reason for me not to. And so I want to automatically jump down to my footer. So under section 3, I'm going to scroll up. href is going to be pound footer. This is working because I have an ID name footer, not because it's the footer tag. Go reload and scroll back up. Click on section 3. And notice it does not take me all the way to footer. But what it does do is it scrolls me as far as it can. And so if my ID or my name attribute and my anchor tag, if that's what you're using, is too far down, as you can see here with the footer, then it's not going to go any further. It's just going to scroll down as far as it can. This is your one limitation. Now, if I do have a very large page like this, then I probably want to have the ability to scroll automatically back up to the top. And luckily, there's a couple ways that I can do this. So after my section for my header 1, I'm going to put an A, href, and I can do back to top. And notice I just put an href there. If I reload, I now see my back to top, and I can click on it, and it takes me all the way back up to my top. Now, I may not want to go all the way back up to the top, and that's what the hash symbol is going to buy me. So another option that I can do is, since I have this main section here, which is storing all my content for my page, and if I switch back to my code, you'll notice that here I have a main tag. I can give it an ID of top. And then at the end of my section, where I have my header tag for section ID 2, I once again create a link with a hash symbol to go back to top, except this time I called it top. Top being the ID of the name that I gave my main tag. So if you use a different ID, obviously you have to give it a different name, and that's fine. But this is going to take me back to main. So if I reload this, I scroll all the way down, I see back to top. I can click on it. And now I don't see that header information. I don't see anything like that. It takes me back to the top of the main content. And that's probably preferable for what you want to do in most cases. Now, that's not always the case, but in most cases, that's simply what you need to do. Now, I only typically put internal links if I have a long page, something that's going to take multiple pages to scroll through in length, and only if I have natural breaking points like headings that you can see here, where I have multiple H2 heading tags throughout my page. So it makes sense for this. I don't need to do this on a really short page because, as you saw, I may not scroll to it. I also don't want to do this if I'm just a page or so long and I only have one content really, because there's nothing worth scrolling to. So when you need to use this, it's a very powerful tool, but when you don't need it, then we bypass it as well.